This week's tip is something that I feel like I have long agreed with and kind of made decisions in life by, but without as much identifying it explicitly until it kind of came up this week as like this realization of, oh, right, of course, that's what I'm doing. So I wanted to talk about how important it is. How do I explain this? How important it is to have routine, of course, because routine is what can help us, give us the energy and everything like that to get things done, to work towards our goals, all of that sort of stuff. But also how important it is to still do things out of routine. So I'm going to talk about doing things out of routine each day. It doesn't have to be something big. It can be something small that actually can make either little changes or the bigger changes that you can't always plan for, that improve your life, because we change our realm of possibilities. So if you have read or listened to any of Dr. Joe Dispenza's stuff, this may sound vaguely familiar. This is kind of what triggered it. I was listening to his book, Becoming Supernatural. He talks about the science behind how what we think or feel in the feeling state of our brains can influence how we then, or what we then create in our lives. So it's really interesting. I like it because it goes beyond pseudoscience. It's real science. And yeah, it gets you thinking a little bit as well. But back to our tips. So when you do something that is just a little bit out of routine each day, you change your realm of possibilities for your life, right? So there can be several examples of this. One, they can be each that are just short-term examples where they are once-offs, or they can be something that you change that you already have in routine, change that then actually frees up a lot of your energy and time. So my example for that one is, for years I have been such a hard partier on a Friday. My routine has been, I get home from work. When I was working full time, it was Friday night because I was working till 5. Nowadays I still work, but I get home around just after lunch and I do my washing. So party hard, right? Friday was always washing day. Friday afternoon or Friday night was always washing night. And over the past year or so, or since moving back to Brisbane, so just under a year, only just, I have noticed that there's been like a stress in me to get home on a Friday night. Actually, it's probably the past year and a half because I was commuting back from Brisbane on a Friday for that half year anyway. So I'd get home on a Friday afternoon or night and there'd be a rush. There's this sense of rush of, I have to get home, I have to get the clothes in the wash, so that I can get them hung up, so that they can dry, because usually it's yoga pants. But for whatever the reason, it was always this rush of, I have to do my washing. Also because when you live with people, it's easier to stick into a washing routine, so that way you don't get stuck wanting to use the washing machine when someone else is. Little tip for you there. So for years now, for years and years, that has been my routine. Friday is washing day. If I went out or did something on a Friday night, that was always something I considered. Like I said, I know how to party, but I always found that, that was my routine and it worked really well for me. But over the last year, there was that noticing there's been this rush and it was stress, and I couldn't, say, do something after a class on a Friday lunch that felt useful, because it would just put off things and that would just make me feel all the more stressed and all the more cramped in time and everything like that. So one of those long-term kind of changes you can do for your routine is what I did, which was, hey Mags, which was changed my washing day. bear with me here. These are examples, but I promise it will help. So I changed my washing day recently from Friday to Wednesday morning, which is when I already washed my sheets and towels anyway. And it has changed how I feel about Fridays completely. My Friday afternoons are far less rushed and far less stressed just to get all these things done than they used to. And that's literally only the last 2 or 3 weeks that I've done that only this year, 2020. And it's made a big difference. So that's something out of routine that I assessed my routine and I found a better way forward. I didn't just keep going with the same routine because it was already routine, right? So where people have certain traditions and things and they just keep doing it and doing it. And you wonder why, and their reason is, oh, it's tradition. And they've lost their why. Or, oh, it's just what I do. It's just my routine. But they've lost their why, and it may not be as useful, whatever their values are for that thing. For me, it's time efficiency. Time is precious. So it may not be as useful, but if you switch it, it changes everything. That's what that's done for me. One of the other examples, so that's an ongoing one, but the other ones I mean more of when you do something out of routine each day is maybe it's... I want to say maybe it's something like taking a different way to work, but I also know that sometimes there is efficiency to that too. But it could be going to a different Woolies, maybe. I know I like knowing where I'm going, what aisle to go to, everything like that, what best park, all that ease and everything. But it could be just things like that. Maybe if you go to the markets, you try a different market, or you go to your usual market, but you let yourself explore a different market on the Saturday. Say you go to your market on the Sunday, you let yourself go to a market on a Saturday that you haven't been to and just suss it out. For me, normally Friday night I try to go to a restorative class at Soho, where I've been going for the last year that I now teach at. I try to go to a restorative class there because it's the only one they have on a week, and my soul usually needs it by the time Friday afternoon rolls around. But sometimes my soul needs something different. Sometimes it doesn't need quiet and stillness. Sometimes it needs to play and have fun and maybe even be a bit social, which is more possible now because I don't do washing on a Friday anymore. Tonight I'm going to the gym, to Prestige Fit, where I also teach and train. And they now have a calisthenics social on a Friday afternoon, evening, night. And it's always a good crew there anyway. Everyone's super lovely, super fun. So I'm going to that because sometimes laughing is a better medicine. So that's just something, and I'm not committing to doing that every week because I don't know what I'll feel like doing next Friday. Actually, I'll be in Hervey Bay next Friday. Hey guys. So, it's just those little things that you change. Exactly, Mags. Your new neural pathways. So Maggie said, like, creating space and change and experience. Exactly. It's when you create that space and shift up, you get to experience something new. And even if you don't like it, you then have the experience of knowing that you don't like it, right? And that's really informing. It's so much more educated to be able to say that than to say, I don't like that if you haven't tried it. So for me, Maggie, you'll laugh at this one, cucumbers, right? There are foods that I hate and I've always hated. Cucumbers is definitely one of them, but I still periodically try them or at least sniff them to just to see, has something changed? Do I maybe like them now, or can I tolerate them now, or whatever it is, right? And I keep finding that I keep hating them, but at least I'm trying. At least I'm exploring the possibilities there, right? I'm not getting stuck in my own dogma of how I believe my life is and how I think life should be, without actually trying it out and experimenting. And in doing that, I open up new possibilities of maybe debate about cucumbers and how delicious or gross they are. Or, or I get to have conversations with people when I bring this up and say and have conversations about what it's like to try food and what that means when you find food that you do like. And, you experience more within the realms of your own life that you then create more in the realm of possibility for you. So it doesn't have to having successful experiences like that doesn't need to mean, they don't need to be, not even pickled cucumbers. No, they don't need to be positive. Like, they don't need to be something that you end up loving for it to be successful. They are successful if you allow yourself to explore and learn something new, or relearn something that you already knew, but having taken that curious approach to your life. So I gave you a couple of examples, but as always, it's tough because everyone lives different lives. So if there is one thing that you can do each day that is slightly out of routine, it might be, normally I walk the dog. If I walk her, it's in the evening. She's a husky, so in summer, it's just too hot in the morning. I cannot possibly get up early enough to beat the sun in summer, especially in Queensland, to walk her before it gets too hot. So I have to wait until the evenings because I'm awake and I teach a lot of early mornings. So, my routine is normally if I walk her in the evenings. However, there might be a day that I have free in the mornings and I happen to wake up early enough. Let's go theoretically or hypothetically here, right? I might change that routine to walking her in the morning that day just to see what it's like. If I'm there, if I'm around, if I'm awake, why not? Right? And then we might explore something new. We might notice how pretty the trees are around our neighborhood are at that time of morning, or how fresh we feel about the day, how much more positive we feel about the day. I say we are one, me and Stormy, apparently. But how positive we feel about the day because we get to see it with a new lens, even if I already have a really good morning routine normally. Just things like that. So what do you normally do that you might be able to do something out of routine that isn't going to be necessarily detrimental, not obviously detrimental? So if it's driving to work, you're not going to take the way that takes you an hour and a half versus 20 minutes, right? But what can you do to kind of spice things up a little? And nothing may happen if you stop at a different shop on the way home, or if you try a different spice. Speaking of spices, if you try a different spice on your food for dinner, right, nothing may happen. There may not be anything. You may not meet someone really interesting on that particular trip, or, you may not love that spice as much when you come to cook and eat it. That's fine, but you have kept things happening internally, neurologically within your system different enough that there's quantumly it opens up this realm of possibilities even more, even just by that little step. So I think you get the point. I think you get the gist now. So let yourself play with life. Let yourself be a little curious, and it doesn't need to be big things. Let them be little things just to see. Because do we need other reasons to do it other than just to see? What is it like to let yourself explore something? And will you survive if you step slightly out of your routine, your normal routine? And I think you will. And even if you don't like it, then you know. And you can say, hey, cool, once I tried this thing and I fucking hated it, but I tried it. Rather than, oh yeah, it's Friday doing my washing.